Well, welcome everyone to the latest edition of Black at TP podcast. I get to be your surprise host today. I'm Michael Archangel with the CS division, and I have the opportunity to speak to Alan Winters today, not just about Black at TP, but as many of you are aware, or may be new to be aware of, all the ERGs that are emerging at Teleperformance, basically celebrating our diversity uniting as a global community to make impactful change in all of our cultures. And we really wanted to take some time to talk to Alan about what is the vision of those ERGs and how do we make them not only powerful in the workplace, but how do we make them meaningful outside of the workplace? How do we take the efforts that we do every day here at Teleperformance and drive meaningful change in the communities that we all live in? So I'm very excited to talk to Alan today. And very excited to be the host. So special thanks to Monir Scott and Dr. Bell for inviting me to Black at TP's podcast. And without further ado, I'm looking forward to speaking to Alan. Thanks for joining us.
Sure. I'm glad to be here today. My name's Alan Winters. I'm the Chief People Officer and Chief Diversity Officer for Teleperformance. I've been with the company now a little over 10 years. And basically, I'm responsible for all of human resources, diversity, equity, inclusion, learning and development, and a few other activities. But I'm very happy to be here today.
I love it. Well, those of you who work with me know that I like to just jump right in, just get to the grit of it all. Um, when we talk about the employee resource groups, and we know that it can get sensitive very quickly, right? It's a fine line depending on which group you're in and which region you're in. I know especially with TP Pride, right? There are certain regions globally that our message just can't reach for reasons outside of Teleperformance. But I think it begins to sort of paint the picture or really create pause. How can we empower the ERGs to use their voice as a platform of education and support without blurring the lines?
How we drive value or make it real is ensuring that the ERG group is a legitimate group within the company. And then based on that voice or whatever the reason for the platform for the ERG is to give them a voice and give them the ability to express whatever the issue or concern is, and then we take action. That's actually how we empower it, because we add value to the reality of why the ERG was created. We give a voice to that and we make it real. And by doing that, provides that platform of legitimacy within the company of whatever the issue is, like LGBTQ or Black at TP or TP women or whatever the basis of the ERG is, and it's to make it real for the people that are part of that group.
It's a powerful message. Alan, how do you think we can bridge the gap between DE&I goals in the local regions and those of the overall DE&I board so that everyone's sort of on the same page?
Yeah, another good question. And I think it's important to take a step back and look at where we are in our DE&I journey. And really, diversity, equity, inclusion has been part of TP for a very long time, but we really formalized it over the past couple of years. And why it's important to understand that journey is that I don't really look at it as a gap between global and regional. What I really think about it, how I think about it, is that we have global objectives in terms of what we want diversity, equity, and inclusion to look like at TP. And because we're a global company, we operate in almost 90 countries, we have to look at what does that mean at a country or regional level, and then ensure that whatever that meaning is aligns with where directionally or strategically we want to go as a company. And so that's really where the hard work is. And frankly, that's part of what my role is, to help align that and and help drive the improvement or change both globally and locally.
And how do you think that we can align those D&I boards and employee engagement teams to ensure that we are gaining their participation at all levels of the organization, sort of like the no troop left behind? How do we make sure that we're including everyone?
Yeah, participation is another very interesting word with a lot of meaning. And what I mean by that is that, first of all, there's low participation. I would ask if that ERG or whatever the topic is of real meaning to our employees. Because we have to make sure that whatever ERG group we have, it bubbles up from the bottom up, not the top down. I'm not the person that should say, I want X, Y, and Z ERGs, right? The whole point behind this program is to understand from our people what's meaningful and important to them. What alignment or group would they like to be involved with? You know, we all spend a lot of time at work, and we call TP our TP family. And part of being a family is being able to express your views or align to a certain group that's meaningful, and that is meaningful at a local community level, right? So if we do that, we should have high participation. Now, the other part of that is communication, and we have to overtly, here's how you can get involved from the onboarding session of every new person, regardless of your role in the company, to understand what DE&I is or what ERG groups are out there, um, all the way through the employee journey, so that everyone knows what's there and people can join or do whatever they would choose to do, which is meaningful for them.
And there's a distinct divide between human resources and DE&I initiatives, right? It's not the same as just going to your local HR to ask for this support and guidance. And I think a lot of people would wonder, how do we bring HR and D&I initiatives together and rally the support with each other to align the key goals there?
Yeah, um, that's interesting insight. Since I have responsibility for HR or global people and D&I, I would say that's now an opportunity for me, because I do not want our HR teams and our DE&I teams or activities to be disconnected. They have to really intimately connected together. So if the perception out there is that they're not aligned, or if you go to HR and they don't understand what the ERG groups are, or how do I get involved, or that's an opportunity for us, and we'll take that and work on that, because our the first line of questions should go from whoever is asking the question to the local HR team, and they should be intimately involved and understand exactly what the programs are, what the process is to join, or if there is not an ERG that's meaningful to the group of employees, how do we create one? What's that process? How do you say, hey, this is what I think is missing, and I think we should develop an ERG around whatever that topic is. So that's something I'll take back and work on with the team to make sure there is no disconnect and it's a seamless process.
You even took the next question I had as far as what is the process for those listening, and they're like, I think an ERG could be created for X, Y, and Z. Like, if somebody has that thought and they feel that they're in a community that's not represented at this time, where does it start for them? How do
Yeah,
they bring that forward?
and I'll go back to the where we are in our journey, and I would say that the ERG creation process is not as well defined as it needs to be, and that's something that Monier and I will be working on early this year. Having said that, the way I would think about this is that if you think about our global strategy and what we want to accomplish from a DE&I perspective, which is employee voice through ERGs, as one example, we also can't have 10,000 ERGs because it waters down the message and what we're trying to get accomplished. So if somebody has an idea if something's missing, I think they can submit that up through Monier, and I will review that and take that to the DE&I global board and discuss and whether it makes sense or not. And if it does, great. If not, we'll talk about why or what else, how maybe we need to shift that idea. But if you think about the basis behind an employee resource group is something meaningful to a large set of employees in a certain country or region. If it's a one-off, one or two people, again, that waters it down. There's no voice there. It's hard to manage, et cetera. So we really want to make sure that whatever ERGs are out there are truly meaningful and have impact to our employees
It's great
or the
insight.
communities in which we work and live.
Yeah, and I mean, there's probably a lot of folks listening today that are like, wait, ERGs, employee resource group. How many are already out there? How do I become part of it? And for those folks asking those questions, or maybe this is new news for them, what's sort of the vision on how we are best going to reach our front lines on the ERGs that are in existence today, and how they can obviously be part of those if they can identify as part of the community.
Yeah, and I would actually include this in a greater communication message from the People Ops team. And so there will be this year a monthly and a quarterly newsletter and update on all people operations activities, one of which is DE&I and ERG. So there will be an ongoing update. Here are the recognized ERGs. Here's the calendar of events. Here's how you can get involved, et cetera. And that will be communicated on a regular basis. And as I mentioned a little bit ago, it's key to integrate that into our onboarding process. So when any new employee comes and joins the company, normally everyone goes through a 1 or 2 day TP onboarding process. Within that process should be the E&I section. Here's the ERGs. Here's how you can get involved, et cetera. And that way everyone understands from day one what the process is and how if they want to align with one of those, excuse me, ERG groups, how do you join? Who's the leader? What's happening in my country? How can I get involved?
I love it. It's great feedback for the group, Alan. And can you share a little bit? I know you mentioned if somebody would elect, or identify that there's an ERG that may need to be brought up to the board, sort of whenever you would identify that, Alan, and you take that to the board, what's sort of the deciding and the approving process to the launch of a new ERG?
Yeah, for me, it's really going to come down to does it align with our goals? Is it going to be something meaningful to a large number of employees? And again, that's critical because again, we don't want to water down the effect or the value that the ERGs can have if we have way too many with a small group. Having said that, I think it's important that we also understand if you think about the number of countries we operate in and the cultures, and Danielle loves to use this, which I actually agree with, the United Cultures of Teleperformance. We have many cultures within our company and in each country. And so the ERG has to be meaningful to that culture or to that community and to that environment. So that's another yardstick that we'll use to measure whether an ERG will be recognized and approved, because we have to be sensitive to that. So it can't just be one or two pieces of how you decide. It's what is meaningful in that environment or in that country or in that culture to that set of employees.
That's awesome. Thank you, Alan. And Alan, as we go into 2023, um, where do you see the ERGs by the end of this year?
Well, I would. That's a good question. Let me restate that. If we are successful, I think we would have high participation rates in whatever the ERG activities are, well communicated process and calendar of events, so people can participate if they choose to, and that's executive participation as well, which is another metric of success. So not only are people within the country participating, folks like me and others, are we participating as well? That which means, do we know what's happening? What are the calendar events, and what do we want to participate in? And I also think, and Monir and I talked about this earlier, is how do we, if you look at what we do to survey our people today, and we have multiple surveys, whether it's sentiment, real-time, moment of truth, ESAC, great place to work, etc. We need to make sure that we're asking our people, is the DE&I program and the ERG program meaningful for them? And if not, why? What else can we do to make that meaningful? And I think that needs to be an integral part of our employee listening process. So we're continually asking, is it working or is it not? And then taking actions, right? And that is, I think, we do a little bit of that today. We need to do a lot more of that listening and asking to make sure we're not missing something and make sure it's real for people. And that will be happening this year.
Powerful messages. And I think, I mean, just folks like me, so I've been out for oh, over 20 years. We'll say that. Over 20 years now. It's such a relief just to bring my whole self to work. And if I feel that way, I'm just like everyone else. I'm sure they feel that way too, regardless of the ERG they belong to or the ERGs that they belong to. So I think that's a powerful goal for 2023. And if we were going to fast forward in time to 2028, 5 years from now, and we've solidified and we've created these global communities and we have so much contact with the global audience, where do you see the ERGs then?
Yeah. You said something pretty powerful just about 30 seconds ago, and that is the uh, being yourself, or another way to say it, being your authentic self. So if I had to say what my overall strategy would be or goal over the next 5 years, it would be for everybody to be able to come to work and be their authentic self. I've been out for 17 years and I feel like I can be my authentic self at TP without any concern or worry. And now we're talking LGBTQ, but you could say out to any, whatever out means to any individual person. They be able to come to work and be themselves. And you can only really contribute 100% if you're your authentic self. Right now, coming out for whatever the reason is or whatever the topic is a personal journey, and you can't force that. So we have to be extremely sensitive to that as well. Our goal, or my goal, is to create an environment that allows people to do whatever that out is for them, right? In a safe environment, comfortable, nothing negative comes around that. And that's a big ask. That's a huge challenge for a global company with lots of cultures. But if I had to say what would my goal be over the next 5 years or so, or earlier, that would be it, because that really is the definition of diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, it's a powerful statement. And if you can empower somebody to feel comfortable and confident with just being in their own skin, I don't know more of a noble cause. Not just for work, but I mean, what greater thing is there?
I would just say this though, and I always get stuck on the empowerment word, like I said at the beginning. My job is to create a culture and an environment so people can be empowered themselves. I can't empower you. By the mere fact of me empowering you, I'm taking that power away, right? So I have to create an environment and a culture that allows people to do whatever they want to do. And that's their own empowerment. I'm not doing that. I'm just creating the environment.
It's a great message. Well, Alan, is there anything else that you would like the global TP team to know about the ERGs, or anything in particular that you just want to reiterate as we wrap up today's session?
Yeah, I would just say I want everyone to really understand that the company is 100% committed to DE&I and the ERG groups. And I will just be very transparent. We talk about this. I update the executive committee every month in the management committee meetings on our DE&I activity and update in progress. It goes all the way up to Danielle Julian. Last month, I was in our annual board seminar. I updated the entire board of directors on our DE&I activity. So it gets the highest visibility in the company. 100% commitment. We have a lot of work to do, and it's a journey. There's not a destination, right? I just want that message to be out. This is really important to the company, and every single executive is committed to driving change and improvement.
Thanks, Alan. What a powerful message for the group. I really enjoyed our conversation today. I would definitely want to thank Black at TP for the platform and the conversation. Alan, I'm probably going to steal you for TP Pride podcasts. So put my own plug
Be
in
happy
here.
to.
But I really enjoyed the discussion today, and I just want to thank everyone. Hope everyone has a great day. Let's have the
Thanks.
fantastic year.
I enjoyed it as well. Happy New Year to everybody.